Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and look who's back.
Whoa,
My
I'm back.
my good friend, Dr. Brandon Nielsen. And today's message of love is, to me, really, really powerful. These are things I've really been thinking about over the last few months, and especially what I've been seeing the last month or so, and what I believe is happening for 2022 is a spiritual awakening, or just an awakening period, right?
hmm
So these are what I've noticed, and I've written down this list of signs that you are having a spiritual awakening. And this is not just an awakening to what's happening, or this is signs that you are awakening spiritually, because we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We are not physical beings having a spiritual experience on this
Say that
planet.
again. Say that again. That's important.
Yes, so we are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Good.
So if we remember that,
Amen.
right, it's 100% true.
Seriously,
So
good.
even if have been closed off to that, here's some signs that you might be having a spiritual awakening. So we're just going to talk about these things. He doesn't have any idea what they are, because I just told him what we were going to talk about when
She's
he
like,
came.
let's just roll. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so the very first one is that you might want more solitude. So you might want to, and I know for a long time, especially during this whole last couple of years, we're talking about social connection, be with your people,
hmm
be with, your loved ones and socially connect. But if you find yourself wanting moments of solitude where you just want a break from the noise, the distraction, all of that, that is a sign of that there might be a spiritual awakening happening. So what do you think about that?
Oh, I think that's great. I think in order to actually have a spiritual awakening, you've got to take time for yourself.
100%.
One of the best times for me is actually in the morning, because nobody is generally awake at that time except me.
So
And
he has 5 kids,
yes,
a
I
new
do.
baby, a new
Oh
baby.
man, they're the greatest.
Yeah.
You want to have an awakening, just have another kid.
Now that's a literal awakening, right?
But for me, it's kind of funny. You mentioned solitude. Back at school, my wife, she wasn't my wife then. She used to come with her friend who I was going on dates with at the time, and they would come and find me in solitude. And the reason why is because in order for me to not just study what's on the page, but to study what's coming to me from my God, I would put myself in solitude so that I could receive clarity of
Yeah.
information. And so some of my greatest moments, yes, sometimes they're the crazy moments with kids, but some of my greatest moments are in solitude, silence, and allowing my God to teach me, allowing higher power to teach me, allowing spirit to teach me. But for me, call it God, but solitude,
No,
very important.
I
And
agree.
even sometimes too, if you can do it in nature, it's a little bit cold right now, but I do actually have a special spot that I go to, and I usually go there in the spring. Spring is coming up soon, and I'll usually go there in the spring and have a special spot.
Oh
And
my
I
gosh,
just go,
that
yeah.
reminds me of a place. So I live in a kind of a busy city, but we're on a quiet cul-de-sac street with a long, it's a pretty quiet street. But what I like to do is in the evening, because my husband always has like football on, or
hmm
basketball or soccer. And it might not even have any sound on it, but it's just on.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times what I love to do, and I'll probably do this once or twice a week, is after we have dinner and he settles into his thing, I will put on my coat, especially even if it's super, super cold, and I walk down my street and up the next street, and the busy street that's right here, there's this house that has these big boulder rocks in front of it.
Oh,
And one I discovered a couple years ago has a completely flat top, and
really?
it's the perfect size to sit on. Like it's a perfect,
Really?
yeah. And I discovered it once when I was having a really, really hard moment. It was kind of late at night, and I just needed to get out and get some clarity.
Uh-huh.
And I took a walk all the way down, and I sat on this, and I actually kind of watched the traffic. But I mean, it was like a really beautiful moment where I was by myself
Mm-hmm.
and I was out in nature, and I got a lot of clarity. I probably sat there for an hour.
Wow.
And so now that's my rock I sit on, and I'll
Oh,
go.
that's cool.
I know it's so, yeah.
So I would say something to that with kind of awakening. One of the things I used to do, and I don't do it as much now because I do different things, but this is a great thing that I'd recommend. Is just what you're saying is going out and walk. A lot of times motion will even help, and I like walking
Yeah.
because walking you can still think. Um, One of the things I used to do is I call it a gratitude walk. Every morning I'd get up and all I'd do is I would be grateful for everything, but then I'd be grateful for the things that were coming to me. And so this
Yeah.
was even
Yeah.
before we had children. And I was so grateful for all these kids that we were having. I didn't even have kids, you guys, but I was grateful for the kids. And I have 5 kids. And I was grateful for this beautiful house that we had, but we didn't have it yet. And now we do. You know what I mean? So all those things that I was grateful for came into place. And so I call it a gratitude walk or a gratitude walkabout. One other key thing I think you said too for awakening, I was out at a special place last year in March. I took a trip and I was just 3 days by myself. And I saw other people and stuff, but I was by myself. And I would always check in with my wife and kids, but I was basically out in nature. And you said something interesting is you sat and it was almost an hour. Sometimes I found that in order to really have clarity, sometimes you have to actually take the time to quiet your mind. It's not that you can't get it quick otherwise and have this sense of spiritual awakening, but sometimes it takes a little bit more time to actually quiet the mind and just really quiet your soul
Mm-hmm.
and get into a state of receiving.
Receiving. That was exactly what I was thinking.
We were both,
Yeah.
and honestly, it is receiving. In this experience that I had last March, I was almost trying to force it at first, like, okay, I'm ready, I'm ready to receive. I had to quiet
Yeah.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, actually, I was just kind of praying and just kind of reading in scripture, kind of like the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just reading and just praying and reading and praying. And once I really got into a state of kind of quietness or stillness, I guess a better word would be stillness. Like not just things around me were still, but my inner soul was still. Then I started receiving.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
That's when I was
Right.
like, whoa.
Right.
And then I'm like, whoa, anything more? And then I'm just like writing things down.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, interesting.
Well, and here's the thing is if you're going to go and especially spend long amounts of time like that in solitude or even moments, I never take my phone. I'll always, after that one, now it was really cold, this place, when I very first found this great rock to sit on. It was really, really, it was in the middle of the winter.
You call it Jane's Rock?
You know, I didn't, but I should now. And I'll show you. I'll have
Jane's
to point
Rock.
it out to you.
Look,
It's right on the road.
Really?
Like, you can't miss it. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I got to see it.
Yeah. But it's like if you have something that when you start to get, almost like you're getting downloads of inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
because I will tell you, the whole theme of awakening spiritually is how we're supposed to walk through this life. Otherwise, it's a cold, bitter. You're always trying to find things to fulfill you, and you never will. You can't just be fulfilled with the things that you have currently. So, I mean,
that's interesting. The
look
whole
at here.
walk almost becomes a metaphor. Your walk,
Of course,
and it was cold and bitter, and the hustle and bustle of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you, yeah, I like that.
Okay. No, it's really good. And if I have this a list, but the very last one is your desire to connect with nature.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so a sign of that is you have this intense desire. And I've always, you know, I'm lucky I grew up with a dad who took us out in nature all the time and was showing us plants and all kinds of stuff. But to me, that is a big sign. Now, here's another one.
Yeah.
Another sign of a spiritual awakening is that you see through the illusion of society.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see the world how we want to see it. Mm-hmm. We might not see it how it really is. And if you think about that, 7.5 billion humans on the planet, we all have a different perception of what the world looks like and what society is. There are some, things that are facts about what, but I think that there is truly an illusion with all of the, mainstream media definitely gives us an illusion of what society is. We all know that our governments give us an illusion. But if we are starting to awaken spiritually, I will tell you what happened for me is right before I restarted my dad's company, I was working for corporate America, and I had this huge desire. In fact, one of these right here, a sudden desire to change careers
Hmm.
is one. And I just was like, I was making a lot of money, but I wanted to be happy and I wanted to serve others. And that was when I knew, and I never really put my finger on it, that I was having a spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up very religious and I had some spiritual moments, but I feel like for the last 20 plus years, I my spirituality has exploded,
Mm.
and I really didn't put my finger that was what was happening. So, what do you
Wow.
think of that?
Yeah, I, I think we have to, in order to awaken from that, um,
From the illusion of society?
yeah, I mean, there is, there has to be an awareness.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there has to be an awareness. I think even something like this will spurn or help people becoming aware. For me, I'm constantly questioning everything. I think my parents didn't like it, but I'm constantly questioning. Like people be like, "This is what it is." I'll be like, "I don't know."
Yeah, that doesn't quite feel right.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes even like church leaders will say stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. Like maybe
Yeah.
it's truth for you, but for me, I guess I'm constantly questioning and asking questions, and I guess I'm so positive, but yet I'm such a skeptic in the sense that I'm constantly asking myself, is that really true?
There's healthy skepticism.
Yeah, and I'm constantly, because I want to learn, I want to know what is true, but I'm constantly trying to find out for myself. And so yeah, this you see through the illusion of society. For me, I think I'm constantly asking, is that
So
true?
you've been a spiritual dude for a long time. Like that's
I,
why we totally
I think
resonated when we
so.
met.
Like from when I was a little kid, I was
Me
constantly, I'm
too.
like,
Yeah.
just because you're an adult doesn't mean it's right. I'm just saying. my
Oh my
my
gosh, I
parents,
love
and thank
that.
goodness for my parents, because they and you guys, if y'all are parents, like if your kids give you a ton of pushback, don't, I guess maybe for an awakening, recognizing your children, they're questioning because they want to know truth. Something inside of them they want to know. I was so hard at questioning. I'd question my teachers. I pretty much disagreed with everyone. And if I talk to you, I'll probably disagree with you, and that's okay. I'm not going to be rude about it, but I'm constantly disagreeing with people on a nice, but yeah, the illusion of society, I disagree a lot with that. But I probably disagreed with you, but you don't feel bad about it
No,
because
but
I'm
that's what
constantly
opens
asking
up,
what is true.
but that's also opens up really good discussions and really
And I
good
think we've lost some
communication.
of that art of being able to communicate with people because
For
it has to be
sure.
like, well, they're this way and they're this way, and so
Yeah.
we don't know how to disagree and be able to still
Yeah.
have harmony and
Well, I
unification.
mean, think about how really I think that we've evolved out of it, but I really believe it's coming back. Is where we used to have people that could sit at a dinner table with two different opposing, each let's just say political views. They could sit, have a meal, maybe have a conversation that might get a little bit heated or whatever, and then they would
That's my brothers and
talk about
sisters.
it, chat about
That's
it,
what we do.
right?
I don't agree
Right.
with a lot of their stuff,
Right.
and they don't agree with the way like I'm very holistic, and they don't agree with all that.
Yeah.
A lot of them have done certain things that I don't agree with, but we come together and we can still connect. Maybe I
Right.
don't connect here, I don't connect here, but man, I'm connected right in here and here, and I
Right.
still
And
remain
that's the
this, and
human thing.
and so I think a spiritual awakening, signs of a spiritual awakening as well, as the ability to disagree, kind of what we're just talking about, this illusion of society, being able to disagree but still connect
With love.
with love and harmony and being able to completely disagree,
Yeah.
but still communicate.
Right. It's so important.
Yeah, so
So
I think that illusion thing is a good thing and what
that's
it led to.
I
So
think it's a big thing. So another sign here is you crave meaning and purpose, and sometimes you feel completely lost and alone.
that's
That's
like my whole life. I feel like you
I
guys just
know.
gonna tell you I feel like lost and alone. So I guess I've been awakening my whole life. I think Jesus felt alone all the time,
Oh,
especially in his,
100%.
I think
100%.
so many, and any prophets that, great prophets, there was this time of aloneness and they felt alone. But that was part of them staying true to the course.
Right. Well, and the fact that when you crave meaning and
Lost.
purpose in your life,
I'm lost. I'm always lost. Sorry.
no, but you know what? That might have happened to a lot of people this last couple of years, where you
Yeah,
feel
that's true.
completely lost and alone, maybe
Oh
because your
yeah,
belief
very
system
true.
has been different, and you don't see other people that resonate with what you feel and know deep inside of you to be true. You feel lost and alone because you
That's a good
feel,
point.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what
I
I've
have seen that
seen.
a lot with my patients,
Yeah,
feeling lost and
I've
alone.
really seen that with a lot of people. They just feel kind of hopeless and helpless. But I would say take heart, because this
Yes.
is a sign that you are opening up your
Just
spirituality.
beyond this, you guys, it's coming. Like,
It,
yes,
it's
you're right.
so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So
Yes.
here's another thing. These go together. Your sleep patterns might change, and you
Mm.
have very vivid, unusual dreams. This has actually been happening to me pretty much my whole life. The last 20 years in particular, since I restarted my dad's company. And then the last 2 years, I will tell you, um, I have not only vivid, unusual dreams, but they're dreams that I remember,
Oh, wow.
which has been really fascinating to me. So this is also not an odd sign. It's simply a sign that you might be having this spiritual awakening if your sleep patterns are a little messed up and you're having these vivid, unusual dreams. Um, okay, a couple of things. Increase self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Always talking to yourself, and then you think I might be going crazy because I'm talking to myself. But a lot of times what I think that is you're just trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
All these things that maybe there were some illusions that have crumbled, and now you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out, well, all these things that I thought were true, now they've crumbled, and I see things completely differently, and you're trying to figure things out. So
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly like have you ever caught yourself saying something to yourself under your breath, and my husband will be like, what'd you say? And I'm like, oh no, I'm just talking to myself. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Have I? Oh, yeah, I have. My wife's like, you talking to me? I'm like, oh, sorry. I was just figuring things out. It
Right.
was just me talking to me.
Right. Which I really love that, because we might not really recognize that that's what that is. And I will have these moments, especially when I'm on my walk and sitting on my rock,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where I will catch myself saying out loud, my brain will be calm and in clarity because I'm having these moments of solitude. And I'm telling you, when you put yourself in those situations, you can literally figure out so many things, get the downloads, get the revelations. Like I do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of prayer
Yeah.
when I'm in those places. Um, the final thing on here is your desire to eat healthier. I think that when you become spiritually awakened
Yes.
and know that we have this deeper purpose in this human life, we realize that this is the vehicle that takes us through this life, and that we want to nourish it so that we can prolong our spiritual awakening through this life.
I like that.
Yeah.
If we think of all things as light
Yeah.
or matter, but let's think
Yeah.
of it as light or spirit. What's interesting about food, the more you process food, the less light it has in it. So if you want to add upon light or give yourself light, what she's saying is exactly right.
Yeah.
So light cleaves to light. All right.
Right.
When you take light and you add more light, it increases and it creates greater lumens. And so light, food being light, so think of real food as more light, you actually increase in light and you actually then have what you'd call a spiritual awakening. So
Yeah.
food is one of the greatest
Yeah.
things to actually help in increasing or overcoming your body, which is not completely full of light, right?
Yeah,
But
we're dense,
yeah,
you know?
dense. And so as you add more light, your body becomes more light or more full of spirit or truth.
Yeah, I mean, think about a lot of these really amazing spiritual teachers through the centuries. A lot of them are vegan, or a lot of them are they do a lot of fasting.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I mean, this is um, when you actually can look at the food that you're feeding your body and realize that it either keeps you like think about how you feel after you've just had a great big heavy meal, a really heavy meal made with a lot of meat and a lot of heavy stuff, and maybe you overeat.
Mm.
Think about you just you know how you feel. You feel completely numbed out. You just want to.
You don't feel light.
You
You
don't feel
feel
light, and
heavy.
you don't feel like doing anything. You just want to maybe curl up and go to sleep, or you just want to
Hmm.
veg out in front of a movie, or you just feel heavy. So I think this list was kind of something I wanted to talk with you about on this because
Yeah.
I knew you would have some good insights too. But I do believe that 2022, and we're in the first week of January right now, is going to be the year of the Great Awakening for so many people on so many levels. And here's what I would say: if you feel like you have been on an awakening journey for a long time, when you have friends and family members who start to have their moments of awakening, I would say be gentle with them.
Mm. Yeah.
Don't throw everything at them at once, because I think some of these things are going to be jarring,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
it needs to
That's
be
true.
with kindness, compassion, and a gentleness. As you see where they're ready, you can give some suggestions, point them in a direction, maybe try this, maybe do that, maybe look at this, because I know I've had a couple of dear friends just in the last couple of weeks who I've seen this crack of awakening that has just, it came at a moment that surprised me, first of all, for one of them. And my first thought was like, I got this huge excitement right here in my chest, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, right? And I wanted to just give them everything I had,
She
you
wanted
know?
to vomit all her truth on them.
Right. But immediately I was like, because I looked at the look on this person's face, and I knew, because luckily I can get excited about things, but I know that
You can read their body
you can read
language.
their body
Yeah.
language, and also there is a certain there's a certain pain as you start to realize that things that you thought were true weren't true,
Yes, you're
right?
right. It's like
It's
your whole world
painful.
is crumbling down, and it is a painful. And there's such a vulnerability in that moment for
Yeah.
that person or for that
Yeah.
child. There's such a vulnerability, and yeah, it's great. You're
Yeah.
you're right.
And this is what I ended up saying. I said, yeah, sometimes things don't look like you think they are, and they haven't for a long time. And then I put it back on me, and I said, so how I've chosen to walk through my life is with unconditional love and non-judgment. So I was like, so when I say this is what I've chosen to do, as I've noticed that things aren't what I thought they were, um, over the years, because truly this has been with me for at least half my life. When I realized that bad job I was in, and I really wanted to just be happy and serve people, that's why I restarted my dad's company. It was never to, you know, it's still not my goal to make millions of dollars and have my own private jet. It's not my goal. My goal is to be happy and serve people.
Mhm.
And when that started to happen, there were so many things that were exposed that I was just like, oh, that's horrible over there. And how come I never saw that before? So my awakening has been 20 plus years or maybe more, but we need to allow others that space as well to
Yeah.
have their own, and just give them love, and let their journey happen. Maybe give them some tools.
I like that. I like that you said to give them space.
Yeah.
People need this space to be able to. It's kind of like their own laboratory of trying to figure out what they need to do and what resonates with them, and
Yeah.
they're gonna mess it up because we all have.
Yeah.
We've messed it up as we've try to understand what is great for us.
That's putting it
And,
mildly.
so yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So hopefully this is, there we go, we went off again. Hopefully this has given you some tidbits of motivation and inspiration and maybe some understanding if you feel like you've kind of had some of these symptoms of a spiritual awakening, to not lose hope or feel um, down about it, because it's actually a really, really beautiful thing. And I would say really tap into that and tune into that. So thanks for stopping by.
Yes. It's good to
And
see you all.
yeah, this is our Sunday message of love. So I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and we will see you in the next one.